on your right. Both these players off to great starts. They are 5-0, and Harlan Fear is number 2 on our SCG Tour leaderboard. Anderson kicked things off from the beautiful mountain, and it's a Monastery Swiss Spear. Harlan Fear is going to fall down to 19, and we will head back over to Harlan. A Swamp and a Thoughtseize. Let's pick apart Anderson's hand. Ash Zealot, Soulscar Mage, Goblin Rabble Master, Torbrand, and a Mountain.
Nice looking curve here. I guess Ash Zealot's the right combination of castable and hard to interact with. Not that Fear's deck is that great at blocking in the first place.
It's true.
Imagine it's either that or Rabble Master.
Yeah, totally fine hand there for Anderson. Something to play towards in Torbrand as a finisher if lands start rolling off the top of the deck. Rabble Master does a nice job of bridging the gap, and as you mentioned, Ash Zealot is totally fine and playable. Looks like Rabble Master is going to bite the dust. And Fear will pass the turn back over to Anderson. So we could see an Ash Zealot this turn, as Chris will draw a card. Picked up another Mountain. That's timely. And here is a 2/2 haste first striker. And when you play a spell from your graveyard, you take 3.
So 2/2 haste first strike is already, close to a card that you would consider. And then also it's got very powerful applications against Underworld Breach.
It looks like just the Ash Zealot's going to come in, as Swiftspear would be blocked by Mutavault if Harlan looked to do that. There's Kari Zev, here's Soulscar Mage, and Harlan has no play. Boy, just drew a copy of Fatal Push this turn, so he will play a Castle Lockmane.
Mono Black aggro does not play very well from behind.
It does not. Looks like it's going to be a Murderous Rider hardcast. 2/3, little lifelink, not so bad on defense, as Anderson will draw. He did not draw land number 4 for Torbrand number 1. Now you got to wonder if there's a good attack here for Chris.
Time to get do we got a Ragavan?
Little monkey? Might be about that time. Chris, I think, thinking through exactly what he wants to do on this turn. I agree with you that Mono Black does not play very well from behind, but Murderous Rider is the stop sign.
Oh, yeah.
We head back over to Harlan.
Too many stats.
Yeah. Harlan thinking about deploying another Mutavault, perhaps. He does have a Swamp in hand as well.
Numbers much too big.
And there's Mutavault number 2. This is a Blood-Soaked Champion. And we head back over to Chris, who does not draw land number 4 once again. If you are curious about what these players' deck lists do look like, they're both up on Cardboard Live right now. Thanks to them for their fantastic extension and all the hard work that they do to up the game of our Magic coverage and so many others, as Anderson just plays a Monastery of Swiftspear and passes it back to Fear. Fear's got land number 5 there in a second Swamp, and he'll just pass the turn back. So Anderson, he'll draw. Well, there's a Mountain finally. Now, does he want to go towards Torbrand? And if he does, how good is it right now?
It's excellent, because it allows him to trade up into the Murderous Rider and deal a ton of damage. There's a risk here that if Harlan has a removal spell, that you lose quite a bit, but I think the risk is definitely worth the reward here, especially against Castle Lockmane and 2 Mutavaults. You kind of got to grind through some of this stuff.
Well, Mutavaults are going to get fired up to do some blocking. Murderous Rider will too. We'll get first strike damage. Goodbye Mutavault. Before regular damage, goodbye Torbrand. Good blocking and sequencing there from Harlan, because that means that these creatures that are dealing regular damage, they're not doing it alongside Torbrand.
Right. So I think the path there from Anderson may have been not attacking with the Ash Zealot. The first strike opened up the sequence.
It did. And you saw Harlan sniff that one out right away. So some damage will be dealt, some life will be gained. There will be an exchange, and we will head back over to Harlan now. Harlan saw another copy of Castle Lockmane. Harlan's at 8. Harlan does have that copy of Mogus's Marauder in hand. Remember that Blood-Soaked Champion cannot block. It's great at attacking, though, and perhaps it'll be making its way into the red zone in just a moment. I do think that exchange was a good one there for Harlan, but I don't think it's a game-winning exchange. It's
No,
not a blowout.
he's still a little bit behind, but if that was the best thing Anderson had going on, then we're back to a neutral position where Anderson's not in a position to attack, and you have, a creature to attack with, a Mutavault to block with, a Castle Lock Lane to maybe leverage somewhere down the line. We might be a ways away from that, but the position's at least stable for the time being, if not good.
Mutavault, and now Mogis' Marauder. Now, are we going to get a little feisty here in the red zone, folks?
Well, I mean, you can't sit and wait the whole time here because eventually Anderson's going to find a way to kill a Murderous Rider, and then it's really bad.
Yeah, you have to imagine that's the case.
So you got to try to shrink the length of the game a little bit here.
Well, here come the Knuckleheads in Mutavault and Blood-Soaked Champion. So it looks like Mogis' Marauder, which for all intents and purposes right now is just 2-2 back on defense, and Murderous Rider back on defense. That's a 2-3 with lifelink. Looks like that's all we got going on. I think Anderson may want to know the Oracle text, so we'll bring this card up as well. It's a weird one.
Old Devotion design.
We'll head back over to Chris here now. He'll play a copy of Torbrand. There you do see the Marauder. That human Berserker, when it enters the battlefield, up to X target creatures each gain Intimidate and Haste, until end of turn, where X is your devotion to black. Here comes some blocks, maybe a couple of trades here, but you're seeing the power of Torbrand in full effect right now. An incredibly, incredibly powerful card for these red decks.
Yeah, not surprised that there was a follow-up Torbrand there because Anderson missed a third land drop a couple times and didn't play anything.
Thoughtseize will take care of Zergo. Harlan picks up a little information out the door, but Chris Anderson's going to win game number 1 here over Harlan Fear. Mono Red Aggro very quickly, as you would expect. Up a game here over Mono Black Aggro. As Patrick, you mentioned, Mono Black Aggro just not very good at playing defense at all.
No, and Anderson there on the play, Harlan's draw a little bit slow. He was able to at least stem the tide a little bit there with a Murderous Rider, but without enough removal spells, eventually the Torbrands overwhelmed him. And if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. Eventually you find a removal spell for the Murderous Rider, and if Harlan's not really getting anywhere proactively in the game, once he loses his one defensive tool, the whole house of cards is going to collapse.
Let's take a look, see what these players are working with. We're going to pull that down, and we'll get that corrected here really quickly, and then we'll go over exactly what both players are working with here. Again, Anderson very quickly up a game there with Mono Red over Mono Black Aggro. Made it look pretty straightforward. You can see the power of Torbrand, but also just the inability for Mono Black to be able to play defensively in any meaningful way. I mean, that was with that Murderous Rider, that was a hope and a pray that it could do anything, and it bought some time, but obviously not enough.
Yeah, it's 4 lightning strikes, Torbrand's Emperor Cleaves. Eventually Anderson's going to, even Castle Embereth would have been enough to power through that. So it wasn't going to buy him all the time in the world, and without enough proactive things going on, he's just sitting there waiting for the inevitable.
Harlan Fear's got 4 Leyline of the Void, 2 Damping Spheres, 2 Aether Sphere Harvester, 2 Agonizing Remorse, 2 Lifebane Zombie, haven't seen that one in a while, a Shadow Spear in Ultimate Price, and a Doomblade. Some good options here.
Yeah, Doomblade, Ultimate Price, and Aether Sphere Harvester are all really well positioned for this kind of matchup.
Shadow Spear quite good here as well, since it does give lifelink, and it's an equipment that you can move around, so you got to like that card in this spot as well. Get some of these creatures out most likely, as I think you still want to have Thoughtseize and Fatal Push in the matchup, but maybe something like a Scrap Heap Scrounger or a Bloodsoaked Champion, not ideal because they can't block.
I don't know. I question Thoughtseize. I mean, there's other, maybe some of the can't block stuff you can get away from too. Thoughtseize is obviously very good in absolute terms, but not well positioned for this particular matchup. But Harlan should be able to find room for these 5 or 6 cards pretty easily.
For Chris Anderson, 3 Karizev's Expertise. That's that Threaten that lets you play another spell. 3 Lava Coils, 3 Eidolon the Great Revel, 2 Dampening Sphere of his own. Obviously, players don't want to lose the Lotus Breach here this weekend. Along with 3 Rampaging Ferocidon and a solo copy of Exquisite Firecraft.
Not really into anything here outside of the 3 copies of Lava Coil, which are excellent. More removal spells, good for Anderson, and Exiling's at a premium against Mono Black Aggro because so many of their threats are recursive.
Those are your options there for these players. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment, but let's very quickly talk about the brand new sale at Star City Games where you, yes you, can save 10% on Magic the Gathering singles through Sunday. Asterisk excludes pre-orders for stuff like Unstable. However, I do want to note the coupon code here, SCG10. Make sure you do use that to save on that order. Head over to Star City Games and you can do just that as these players look like they have a question right away, perhaps. Dread Wanderer is where Harlan wants to start. Now, I think Chris might be asking for the Oracle text of that card because Chris has been away from the game for a little bit.
And Harlan plays with a lot of non-English cards. So if you've been away from the game for a little while,
I believe it's a
bit.
Jackal Zombie that's going to get Wild Slashed. I love asking what it does and then killing it.
Yeah, what does that do?
All right, it's dead.
Were you there at the Grand Prix where I asked to read my opponent's Aurelia in Ravnica Limited? I asked to read their Aurelia and then disable stroked it.
Like that. Like that. Like that. Tilt him right off. Bone Crusher Giant. More importantly, Stomp going to take care of the Knight of the Ebony
Unfortunately, you were in A and I was in C, or
That's
vice
right.
versa, so we didn't see a whole lot
I didn't
of
get
it.
to see all of your tomfoolery now.
Yeah. Can I read that, please? All right, disable stroke.
all I remember is you being on the draw a lot. By choice.
Rat. I'm going to draw.
Burglar Rat.
Bugler Rat you over and over again.
That's right.
Did you mulligan? I'm already thinking about what next game's going to look like.
A swamp there for Harlan. He'll pass the turn back. Murderous Rider / Swift End at the ready. Bone Crusher Giant in, and you can put it in the bin. So there is Swift End. Harlan will take 2 to cast it, so he'll fall down to 18, and then Harlan will be untapping those 3 lands. He'll be drawing a card. We'll see if he has land at number 4. It looks like he does in a Mutavault. And a Castle Lockvein. So he's got options. And he does have a Murderous Rider that he can redeploy if he'd like. There is the Mutavault. This might be Rankle. Okay, so 3 in the air to the skies. Does he want to use any of the abilities? He does. He wants to go with the discard of Rankle, Master of Pranks. Ramnap Ruins to the graveyard. Castle Lockvein to Harlan's graveyard as we head back over to Chris Anderson. There's a Goblin Rabble Master. That one's not messing around. You see Rankle there. When it deals combat damage to a player, you can choose any number of each player discards a card, which Harlan did choose. Each player loses a life and draws a card, and each player sacrifices a creature. Oddly enough, the Goblin token that is made here from the Rabble Master
little insulation.
Yeah, protecting the Rabble Master itself.
It's a cool design.
Yeah.
Rankle
I like
sweep.
Rankle a lot.
Rankle sweep.
Wow, the OG. Doomblade.
Doomblade.
In hand. You don't see that one every day.
Does it die to Doomblade? Yes, of course it does.
Most things do.
Doomblade.
Here comes Rankle. Both players are going to lose life and draw a card. Okay. So Harlan.
Playing both sides of the ball. Little discard.
Oh, mix it.
Little draw.
You got to mix it up. There's Murderous Rider with Doomblade at the ready.
We are just ready to go.
I smell a blowout.
Oh, yeah.
You smell that? What's that smell? What is it? Opportunity? Money. That's what this Doomblade's about to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's about to be money.
Well, Chris can hedge a little bit here. He just goes to combat and attacks with everything.
Come on, he can't help himself.
You can shock the Murderous Rider after it blocks a token. If he trades off with the Rabble Master, then it's whatever.
All right, well, it looks like the Rabble Master's going to hang tight. And Harlan will block. Bzz.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
Murderous Rider to the bottom. Kari Zev. Is it time to fire off that Doomblade?
Doomblade. Let's get it.
Bang.
Kill anything. It's your choice. Just pick whatever
That's
you want.
right.
No bad choices.
They all die to it.
How is this fair?
Mutavault number 3. How is this fair is nice. How is this remotely reasonable? Did Harlan kill the right creature with Doomblade? Because these Mutavaults can't get all that frisky. Now, I suppose Swift End. See ya. Harlan's got to take 2 to play that one. So Murderous Rider's on an adventure now. You'd love to be able to deploy the Murderous Rider as well. But for now, it's going to be Rankle and Mutavault getting busy.
Yeah, the downside is they drew Mutavault, and of the 6 mana he needs 4 to do everything in this turn. The upside is he drew another Mutavault while he has 6 lands in play. So next turn he can tune up the band, maybe get across the finish line.
Looks like Chris is going to have to discard from the Rankle. So there goes Rampaging Ferocidon.
No, Harlan said we're going upstairs because he's empty-handed.
Oh, excuse
Anderson's
me. Okay.
hand. Chris's hand's obviously rancid based on the cards he's been playing. Why make him discard?
Sure.
And now you just have one more thing to work with next turn.
Okay, so that means he used both modes. Make you discard and draw.
Oh, he's getting it all. He's
yeah,
getting, yeah.
Okay. I like
There's
that.
so many pranks. It's not the same prank over and over again. Different pranks.
Is it Torby time? It's not Torby time.
Usually my line is to care about my opponent discarding, to value that, they have to play at least one good card at some point. Before then, do whatever you want.
That's your rule?
Yeah, that's my line.
That's okay.
Show me one good card before I care about what's in your hand.
I dig it. Rabble Master, make a goblin. Come on in. 7-11 life totals in favor of Harlan. These Mutavault's going to get fired up. This might cause Chris to take a big gulp. There is a Wild Slash to keep him alive, though. All right, 5 damage coming across. Anderson's down to 2. Rankle going to do some pranking, perhaps.
I don't want to get burned out here if I'm in Harlan's position, so now I would go to discard.
Okay.
Because Edict's no good, and I don't want to lose one and give Anderson another card going into those last turns.
It was lose one, draw a card, and make you discard, so 10-1.
I mean, it would have to be a perfect 3 cards.
It would. Getting burnt out here is pretty tough. And Chris Anderson's going to scoop it up. So Harlan Fear is going to win game number 2 here over Chris Anderson. Mono black aggro, mono red aggro. They're all tied up. But if you're rooting for Chris Anderson and mono red, he's on the play for game number 3, the place you love to be when you're playing that style of deck. And that means that mono black has to play defensively on the back foot. And we know Harlan's deck is not particularly good at doing that. And as we saw when we looked over the sideboards, no copies of something like Kalida's Trader of Gats.
I was trying to think if there's a sequence of cards that Anderson could possibly have there to win the game among cards that are commonly played by mono red aggro, and there were. So it makes me a little nervous.
Makes you a little nervous, huh?
You just go, so with 4 lands, you have 3 cards in your hand.
Okay.
Swift Spear.
Yeah.
Shock/Lightning Strike you. Light up the stage.
Okay.
Land spell, or, you do another shock, and it's possible. You can die from that spot.
Game number 3 about to be underway here between these players. And while they do get ready, they're going to shuffle up here. I don't think it's going to take too long. Let's talk about Open Trials really quickly here. It is a brand new promotion. I suppose brand new is strong. It was a promotion at one point in Star City Games' organized play history. We took it away, but we brought it back. We made some changes to it, like exciting new prizes, including SCG Tour free entry cards, SCG Tour playmats, exclusive foil tokens, and official Magic the Gathering playmats. So if you want to get your opportunity to play in an SCG Tour main event for free with that free entry card, head to go.starcitygames.com/opentrial, find one near you, and play in some awesome and local organized play, courtesy of Star City Games, which is something Harlan Fear does quite a bit of. But when he's not doing that, he's crushing out here, Patrick. Last year, Open top 8s, wins 1. This year already 2, alongside Zach Allen and Danny Jessup. He still does donate his hair after it reaches a certain length, and he put together a lot of wins last year, and this year might be better than that one.
Star across multiple formats. 2020 is shaping up to be better than 2019, and 2019 was an incredible year, as you saw. A deep well events, a nearly 50% top 8 conversion with a win for the cherry on top.
Played our Players' Championship as well, did Harlan. But already this year, 2 open wins, again, alongside Zach Allen and Danny Jessup at SCG Columbus and SCG Philadelphia. He's off to a 5-0 start here this weekend with Mono Black Aggro, showing his range as someone who can play just about anything. He's one of those players that is starting to become one of the elite here on the SCG Tour, and one of those players who just plays whatever he believes to be the best deck and not a certain type of archetype, like, say, Zach Allen. Swift Spear is where we're going to start game number 3. So Fear already down to 19. Swamp the draw for the turn.
Pretty land-heavy hand over there.
It appears to be the case. If you're Harlan, you're really hoping to find one of those copies of Aethersphere Harvester after sideboard, as that does a great job of brickwalling Chris Anderson. This is another copy of Monastery Swift Spear. That will be an attack for 2, and Harlan's going to fall down to 17 already. And now Harlan's just going to pass the turn back again. So if you're rooting for Mono Black here, you have to hope that Harlan Fear has some sort of removal spell.
Doomblade.
And it looks like he doesn't, so he's going to fall down to 15. Remember, Anderson did mulligan this game, so he's short a card.
Looks like the 3 spells left over here are Wild Slash, Lava Coil, and Lightning Strike.
And it looks like, actually, we're going to go with this pre-damage, and Doomblade is going to take care of a Swift Spear. So Harlan does have the interaction, and now we head back Harlan's way.
But a lot of pressure on him to chain removal together here because his threats are not very good at blocking. I mean,
what to do?
Well, Anderson's turn there is suggestive of someone with more spells because he was willing to fire off a spell just for some prowess triggers, and he hasn't been casting anything. So his hand's either 4 mana cards or it's more spells. Fear actually has a lot of information to work with.
Scrap Heap Scrounger there for Harlan, a creature that cannot block. Remember, it's the 3/2 for 2 mana. Does a great job of coming back from the graveyard, but blocking is not a strong suit.
And I really love this play from Harlan because Anderson has an incentive to cast a spell this turn, as indicated by his willingness to use a Wild Slash last turn. So if you're going to play anything, make it something where if Anderson has a spell, it's not that good.
There is Lightning Strike to take care of the Rankle. Now here comes Scrap Heap Scrounger, so Anderson's going to fall down to 17 to 12, excuse me, in favor of Chris at this moment. Chris had the opportunity to play a land last turn, elected not to, as he'll come across here for 1. There's a Soul Scar Mage, and he'll pass the turn back, still holding that mountain. So we head back over to Harlan, who has drawn and will deploy a Mutavault. This is Rankle number 2. I think part of the reason Chris has been holding that land is to maybe discard it to Rankle.
Yeah. This seems like a good spot, though, for an Edict. Okay.
And Harlan looks like he's going to make both players discard and the Edict effect. The follow-up is Knight of the Ebon Legion. Chris wondering what that one does. But that one's just a 1/2 that's going to grow, actually, because damage was dealt. So it's a 2/3 now.
And really nice from Harlan. That was in his hand on turn 1. Elected not to deploy it, and now that magic toughness there, going from 2 to 3, turns off a lot of the red answers.
And now what you see is Torbrand in hand. Chris with
see
the
that a
inability
lot.
to play that, yeah.
See Torbrand in hand a lot.
And now what are you lava coiling? You're going to lava coil away Rankle. Soul Scar Mage can't get busy. It's a 2/3. Oh, wow. It can get busy. And Harlan is not going to block. So Chris going to sneak in a couple of points of damage. Harlan saying, I don't need to take any risks right now. So Harlan will just play a Swamp. Oh, boy, that's a good one. Aethersphere Harvester is a real doozy on this battlefield. Mutavault can turn it on. And will Harlan attack with the Vampire? It looks like he's thinking about tuning up the band. There you see our Jacob Ball energy token back when he won that Invitational a couple of years ago in Atlanta. And now he'll come across for 2 points of damage, will Harlan Fear. Remember, there's also Scrap Heap Scrounger that's hiding out in the graveyard that Harlan can bring back. Chris picks up a copy of Kari Zev. He'll deploy that and pass the turn back. Torbrand still not able to come back. Here comes Scrap Heap Scrounger. Harlan's untapping very quickly, and now it's time to draw a card. He wants to press his advantage and try to get this game over with, folks. He's already tapping a Swamp.
Mutavault off the top is a very nice draw.
Yep, Mutavault will turn on Aethersphere Harvester. As far as spells he needs to play around with regards to Prowess and Soul Scar Mage, it's really only Wild Slash. So here come the Knuckleheads.
No good blocks here. I mean, the Scrounger, that's only short term. and flying and pumping on the other attackers. So nice alpha strike here from Harlan.
Karizev's going to bite the dust in the exchange with the double block. Aethersphere Harvester has lifelink, so Harlan's going to gain a little bit of life. That Vampire is going to grow. And Anderson now, even if he does draw the land to deploy Torbrand, nowhere near as good on this battlefield as it would have been a turn or two ago. Harlan Fear going to win this match over Chris Anderson 2-1. Mono Black Aggro is going to take care of Mono Red Aggro. And for number 2 on our SCG Tour Player of the Year and Season 1 leaderboard,